Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Please could you tell us a little more about Swami Ramdas ji and Mataji Krishnabai and how they came to found the Anandashram in Kerala, given that they were born and lived outside Kerala, and what was their philosophy? Thank you.
Actually, the only limitation we have before us is that nothing has been recorded in one book. But from the details we gathered from different books and also hearing various talks of Puja Mataji and later on Puja Swamiji, we were, to some extent we were able to understand, which we will try to share with you. Parampuja Papa, who was then known as Vittal Rao, he was born in 1884 in the same place called Kananghad, which was then known as Hosdur. And his father was a government employee there. Though he had his primary education there itself, then he moved to Mangalore also. His family, was highly religious minded, very pious people, leading a simple and righteous life. All these must have had its own impact on him. But God has, later on we come to know that everything is happening only by God's will. And He has to set everything in the form in which it should take place later. This is the first lesson He teaches us when we go through His biographical sketch. So let us try to start with this drama then. So after the education, he was not proficient in his studies, according to what we have understood. But he had a great love for English language and literature. And then, because he couldn't do further on his academic education, somehow he joined the Victoria Technical Institute in Bombay to have this diploma in textile engineering. After the examination, he got a job. First we were told he got a job in Chennai. Even during that period, he was highly, he became devotional in the sense, such was the practice that was going on in his house. He had that background. But as he started growing and went to the city like Bombay, naturally as an youngster, as a young man, he had a lot of conflicts in his mind. Even he has written that there was a time when he was becoming almost like an atheist, questioning everything. But the background is there. There is another lesson told to us. When we all look back to our own life, we find that the impact we have at the impressionable age has its own role to play later. So that was building up in his mind. And then his parents requested him to get married. Initially he resisted, but because the ardent desire of the mother, he finally agreed and the marriage took place. She also hails from a family which has got this background. And a girl was born to him. But later on we found that periods of unemployment were more than periods of employment. That means he would lose his job for no fault of his. At that time probably one has to pass through the severest stressful period. This is another point which we have been thinking, when we apply it to our own life. You may not know Malayalam, but when we were students, we were taught the two lines. Urikidunnu Milinilittu Mukkunnu Muttum Bhuvaniga Shilpi, Manushya Grittam Kanagate, Yedo Panitarathinu Vyuktamakan. He is, jewelry, in jewel. To make a jewel, he heats the, what do you call it, gold, and then does the hammering, which is very painful. The heating is painful, this is painful, but ultimately the object is to make it a beautiful thing. So this line comes back to us often when we go through papas and later on in ours also. I will repeat, though, for those who can take some thread in it. Urikidunu means melting. Milinirilitu mukkunnu muttum, in tears, because the stress is so much. Bhuvanega Shilpi, the supreme architect, which is when he is doing it, Manishya Hritam, the heart. What for? For a better product. So he was subjecting Papa to go through the severest stress by losing the job for no fault of his, shifting his family from one place to another. And though Mrs. is very good and pious, on those days, ladies were not exposed like today. So they had whatever they get from their village life, satisfied with the rituals, nothing beyond that. So orthodox type, and he was highly progressive. So there was always a disconnect. I won't say disharmony, but there is a disconnect. This was the period through which he was passing through. Then God willed that his father-in-law told him to come back to Mangalore. And he was engaged in the same business, so he said, join. Initially he also joined and things were going on well. But he doesn't have this commercial aspect in his profession. For everything there is a dharma there. Unless we act according to that dharma, it will go. So God's mission is something different. Later on we come to understand. So he was an unfit, to be very bluntly put it. So then it was drifting, and there was difference of opinion between him and the father-in-law. Ultimately, he had to get away from it. The relationship also got strained. Then the prompting came to him that why not we start our own, and he started his own. His brother came forward, Sitaram Rao. His brother came forward, and then why don't you start? And with his help also he started it, it was flourishing. Later on, the overheads will be becoming more and more. And he was not more concerned about the overheads, he was more concerned about the welfare of our people. So that definitely tilted the balance, and ultimately, it became a concern with so much of liabilities, less of assets. He was passing through such a terrific stage. In one book, it has been mentioned that creditors would come and shout, and he has to run the show. So such a stressful period he was passing through. At that time, we are putting two and two together. This has not been mentioned directly like this. In one article he said that at that time Mahatmaji was passing from Kerala to Karnataka. And there was a big meeting in Police Maidan in Bangalore. According to Google Baba, which we checked up later, it was attended by more than 10,000 people on those days, 1920. And somehow God prompted Vittal Rao also to be there. So he has said that a strange influence, though at a distance he was able to see Mahatmaji, a strange influence came to him. And he has written, that was the first spiritual touch. Previously he was evaluating things right from the material standpoint. This dimension has not gone deep into it. So this must have been the instrumental cause for him to bring in the God dimension first. And as you all know, Gandhiji was a great votary of Ram Nam, and this Ram stood for the universal Atma Ram. So again, putting two and two together, Papa started chanting Ram Nam, Ram, 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 Ram. And switched over to Khadi, started spinning. In one book, his son-in-law has also written that he was associating with the national movement also. whenever time permitted. So this was going on. His intensity, here we find it is not merely chanting. He was, right from the beginning, he was aware that he was chanting the name of one who is within him and who is making him to chant. So as somebody said yesterday, Nama and Nami are one. The one which represents the Nama is again in the form of Nama only. That clarity had come to him right from day one. That was the secret of his success, we can say. Because he was chanting with total faith and devotion. He had absolute clarity on what this Rama stands for. It stands for the very power because of which he is chanting. Later on, when so many austerities he was prompted to undertake, and when everybody became panicky, something is wrong with him, and when his father rushed up from Udupi and asked him, what happened to your son? You know what was the answer? Sadhakas like us should keep on hammering this. God is making me to repeat Ram Nam. God is making me to repeat his name. So it has entered into his heart. Even now these words are coming because he is there. No? Not that we are talking as an individual. That stage had reached right from the beginning. It is a correctable, it's something which we cannot even imagine. Normally we all go and see some spiritual practice, we get used to it, and we form a concept what is to be attained, and that concept always distances us from it. We don't reach anywhere. But here it was not like that. I don't know whether we are right in putting it like that, but there was no concept. The seeker and the sought after was clear to him. It was one. But again, as he was functioning as an embodied soul, an individual sense of individuality, he had to express it in this form. But even in the expression, we found that God is making me to repeat his name. So then, circumstances were aligning itself in such a way that he felt joy. In one book, you will be stunned to know he was chanting for 22 hours out of 24 hours. And this chanting gives him the feeling that he is there, not only in him, everywhere. He is the one who, everything is happening only by his will. Even the very act of chanting is done by him. And we as individual entities are functioning only because he is there. And he has assigned us the role. So there is no prefix or suffix like appointments or disappointments or dejection or anything like that. No, there are no such prefix or suffix. Everything is happening only by his will. With that bhavana to chant 22 hours out of 24 hours. What a deep impact it had made. And then when he was getting convinced that everything is happening only by God's will and whatever is happening is for ultimate good, then one day he was prompted to think, why not he throw himself out? The sense of individuality is still there, no? With the body, mind, intellect. So it has to test for itself whether it is relying on this power or this puny sense of individuality. It's a wonderful, in his book, first book, he has written that very, very touching, very touching. You got that in Krishnabai? So Papa says, now from the narrow pond of a worldly life, Ram had lifted up his slave to throw himself into an extensive ocean of universal life. The clarity had come to him, no? Individual life is a part and parcel of universal life. But to swim in the wide ocean, Ram knew Ramdas wanted strength and courage, for gaining which Ram intended to make his ignorant and untrained slave to pass through a course of severe discipline, and this under his direct guidance and support. So he was not seeking anything from outside. He did not join any institution. He did not go around a guru. He was relying on God who is within, directly under his guidance and support. So one night, while engaged in drinking the sweetness of name, Ram was made to think the following: O Ram, when thy slave finds thee at once so powerful and so loving, whose name he is chanting, and that he who trusts thee can be sure of true peace and happiness, why should he not throw himself entirely at thy mercy, which can only be possible by giving up everything he called mine? Thou art all in all to thy slave. Thou art the sole protector in the world. Men are deluded when they declare, I do this, I do that, this is mine, that is mine. O Ram, it is thine and all things are done. Thy slave's one prayer. This is very important for sadhakas like us. Thy slave's one prayer to thee is to take him under thy complete guidance and remove the I-ness. And the last day, at 5 o'clock in the morning, on 27th December 1922, he bade farewell to a world for which he had lost all attraction, in which he could find nothing to call his own. Body, mind, soul, all were laid at the feet of Ram. Explains eternal being, full of love, full of mercy. So he left. From that moment onwards, we find from his writings reliance on him totally, not 99%, 100%. He was totally relying on God and God alone, which he named it as Ram, that's all. And he was mysteriously led to Trichy, and from Trichy to Srirangam, where Mother Kaveri was flowing. Immediately the thought came. He had kept two ochre-colored roses, and then he went, according to what he writes, it was a spontaneous feeling to offer the white rose and accept the red ochre rose. And he, by that simple act, he renounced everything, including his name. And he named himself as, or God made him to name him as Ramdas, Das of Ram, slave of Ram, Chela of Ram. Then started his saga journey. And in order to give him a fillip, we find now that he was also led to Tiruvannamalai mysteriously. He had no plan. And then he placed himself before Bhagavan, Ramana. Though they did not utter, Bhagavan did not utter a word. Papa prayed in English to bless him. And his gesture gave him a mysterious, an inexplicable, pleasant, inspiring feeling. That made him instrumental. Until that time, he was only chanting, he had never gone deep within. So that was the instrumental cause for him to retire to a cave in Tiruvannamalai and then took to solitude for 21 days. Accepting one-time food. That food means, little gruel, kanji, without any salt or anything, once a day. And remembering him through chanting. As the days were nearing, one day he had that, we can call it as Vishwadarshan. He started coming out and embracing everything that he saw. Oh, you are Ram, this, not merely person. The trees, the stones, the squirrels, anything. And one day a human being was coming, he went and hugged him, oh Ram, and he got scared. So a glimpse of that was also given during that period. Then he completed, it's the first chronicle of his yatra, itinerant yatra. It came out in the form of In Quest of God, which is a classic. It's simply, it will look as if, somebody has narrated the travel, but it is not like that. Between the lines, suppose if we start applying our mind, we should travel ourselves with Papa. Yeah. We should travel ourselves. We should not be satisfied by seeing where after he has reached the stage. How he reached the stage. A real sadhaka should travel right from the beginning with him. So we travel with him, and then we find each and everything that is happening. How the fine tuning, how does God does it? And then pray to him, why don't you put me there? So like that, he completed and came back. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience, where all these basic spiritual values, what we understand, that means expansion from the individual to universal, accepting all situations as ordained by him. There is nothing called adverse or positive, and absolutely content in, there is no grumblings, no complaints, zero. That language is not there in his dictionary. Then only we will put it as this. So the whole thing has been packed beautifully in that travel out. He came back, and he did not go straight. One more thing is there. On the last leg of his journey, he came to Siddharud, Siddharud Swami's Hubli ashram. So his Purashram Mrs. came to know that he had come there. So she rushed up there and pleaded to Swamiji, asked him to come back. So Swamiji called him, go with his mother. As a child, he accompanied. But when they landed in Bangalore, he went to the cave. That means he has, at that time, God had made him to reach a stage where no resistance. Everything is happening. Ultimately, he promises from within. And later on, he used to go. He was above all those, whatever sense of separation or sense of norms, all those things, he was above that. So he had no problem. Again, he went on a tour like that. Then, and his photos, if we see, some photos people were able to preserve. Like a skinny, what do you call it? A very lean figure. If he is sitting under a fan, he will be blown. That was his condition. But always the face was full of bliss. So his brother told him, stop going like this. I will put up a small kutia near Kasargod, a place called Kasargod, where there is a river. Though none of us have any idea about it, one old devotee drew a picture. He had visited. And then he said, this in my mind, when I saw this, it was like this. It's a wonderful, a small, like this, small one. And there is a small room inside for him to lie down. And an open, that's all. And here is the river. So food was sent from somebody. And he would not accept anything from anybody. In one of his writings, he had heard that somebody sent an MO, 2 annas or 4 annas or 5 annas, something like that. He said, return it back. He was not, that was his stage then. He was not accepting anything. But always blissful. Zero demand. Reveling in this, that was his life then. Reveling in that. Seeing him in everything. This is one part. Puji Mataji Krishnabai. She also hails from a family which had great faith, devotion, everything. And she had a very loving husband, Lakshman Rao. And he was working in Bombay at that time. She had 2 children. In one of the books we have heard that she was carrying for the 3rd. And so on those days, daughters go to their mother's place for delivery. And mother was in Batkal, South Canara. On those days, the only transport was steamer. So she has been every now and then asking her husband, let me go, let me go, let me go. So he said, don't worry now. You can go later. After on 7th month, 8th month you can go. But again she was insisting, every now and then. So he said, you will regret later. That also she did not give much importance. And finally, we acceded and she went back. After 15 or 20 days, we don't know exactly the date, he fell sick in Bombay and she was in Bhatkal. A telegram was sent, that was the only way to communicate. And every now and then he would ask whether Krishnabai has come. But somehow God willed that Mataji should not immediately rush up. For an ordinary fever and all those things, going there again, coming back, not practically feasible. So she did not give that much importance. Finally, it grew worse. He passed away. When the news came of his passing away, it was a terrible shock for Mataji. It shattered her life. She felt guilty that she did not respond, she did not go there also. And then finally, she tried to end herself, end her life also. And somehow, at that time, her husband's brother, who was a doctor, and they were Rama and Lakshmana. He was called Rama Rao. Very close, very intimate. And the families were close. In-laws were very close. Children were very close. So Rama Rao took care of this family also. And then he was posted as a doctor in Kasaragod, in the then South Canara district of the then Madras state. So when he came there, he was given a cottage and all the family members were there. Somehow he got the word that there is a Swami who is always in bliss. And he also knew that Mataji had great reverence for saints. It might give her some solace. So one day all of them went to see Papa. As soon as she saw Papa, she knew he is my father, mother and Guru. She had a laugh, something which she had not done for many years after her husband's life. First time. Then every day she started regularly going to the ashram. And then, knowing her background, Papa gave her the mantra initiation and told her to chant with total faith and devotion. And along with that, he put her under severe test to erase the me and mine, the dominance of me and mine, which is the stumbling block in spiritual journey. So she was doing it, and it so happened that Rama Rao had to go to London for FRCP or something like that. So the entire family had to move to Dharwad from Mangalore. Kasaragod, from Kasaragod. So naturally Mataji had to go with them. She was reluctant, but somehow she went. After staying there for a few days, she felt, no, this is not my place. So she told her children, we will go back to Papa. Whenever I get something, you will also get something. So the children said, no, we want to study. So they stayed with their uncle, and you can imagine Mataji was 25 years old. With nothing extra, she left from Dharwad to Bangalore, leaving these two children also. The commitment was so full that nothing else mattered to her. And when she reached Bangalore by steamer again, she got into a train that took her to Kasaragod. And she started walking from the station. As she was about to reach, she was passing through Papa's Purashram daughter's house. It was very near, Ramirta. So he asked whether Papa is there. Then she rushed up there. At that time, Papa was observing silence. So he wrote a chit. Mother, you have come to your own place. So then she started, some inmates were also there. Then everybody felt, what God willed, that everybody felt that everybody saw Mataji only as a lady. And why this lady should stay in the ashram. So slowly the seeds of disharmony, it started sprouting among them. And one by one they started leaving. Papa was in a blissful state. And Mataji was doing everything for it, irrespective of their behavior. But somehow, ultimately a stage came when everybody left, Mataji was there. So local people, two people, that unless we remove her from the scene, there won't be any answer for our questions. So one day night they came, threw the lantern out, and rushing towards Mataji, caught hold of her neck to strangle her into death. At that time, Papa said, Ram, Ram, Ram. Suddenly these people left and ran. Immediately Papa said that was the sign God is giving to leave the place, that's all. And they went to a doctor's place, stayed there in the night. Early morning they got into a train, got down at Kananghad again. There is a reason. One of the Purvashram relatives, they had constructed a new house very near to the present ashram. And they wanted Papa to come and stay there. So Mataji also. Later on they came to know this great episode. So finally after a few days, they said, why should you go here and there? Papa, left to himself, would have lost himself. But Mataji extracted a promise that wherever he goes, she should be allowed to accompany. So he had to have a house. That is why Papa used to always mention, she is the Adhisthana Devata of this ashram. But for her, this ashram would not have come out. And the present Anandashram came into being. And then, though Papa was in a blissful state guiding, everything was done by Mataji. Till today, whatever is happening in Anandashram, 93 years back it was on 15th May 1931, the ashram was inaugurated. So 1931 to now 24 means 93 years. Whatever is happening, it is all happening because of Mataji's direction. Everything. This is a brief narration about Papa, Mataji and the ashram.
Swamiji, what is the significance of Ram Nam chanting, and both for the spiritual seeker as well as for the grihastha, and does it help go together and transform one into the other?
The mainstay of Anandashram is chanting of God's name. Any name Papa used to say, but since we feel we have got an organization, people keep coming there. So if it is told that you can chant any name, there will be utter confusion there. Somebody may be chanting Shiva Nam, somebody chanting Krishna Nam. So probably for the sake of uniformity, that has been going on in this ashram. God's name of God, that's what always he always projects. And the God is impersonal. Though he is also personal, he is impersonal in spirit. So and Papa's life itself is a testimony, before us. How a simple chanting of Nama can transform an ordinary individual, a grihastha, to a saint, who became the sole refuge for thousands and thousands and thousands of people, even today. Though he dropped the body in 1963, he continues to inspire. Many people come to Ashram after going through in quest of God. Here is a saint who did not, who only took up chanting of God's name. Of course, what matters here is the right perspective. Right from day one, he was very clear. He was chanting the name of one who is within him and whose will prevails. So with that bhavana, when he chanted, he was able to stabilize himself where he knew everything happens only by his will. His will alone prevails. So then we aspirants, we take it that Ram Nam chanting should enable us to keep on hammering this truth to us. That we as an individual, we owe our origin to that. Apart from that, we have no individual existence at all. To keep on hammering this truth, intellectually we have understood now. To make it a reality, what Papa chose was to intensely chant. Initially he writes that he was going along with the music. How to concentrate on this? Because he was free from any personal aspect of worship. So he was concentrating on the sound. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. While this chanting is going on, Papa wants us to become aware of the truth that it is he who is making us to chant. If he is making us to chant, it goes without saying that he is making us to see, he is making us to hear, he is making us to touch, he is making us to smell, he is making us to taste, he is making us to think. So putting all these factors even, why and how this Ram Nam became the only mainstay? It is full and comprehensive. The first one is, it is easy in the sense, it is not an easy, it is the toughest sadhana, but easy in the sense it can be practiced anywhere, at any place, at any time. There is no precondition. Even I am in the walking, even I am working, even I am talking, even I am in the bed, even I am in the east side or the west side or the north side or the south side, whether I have taken bath or not, nothing matters. Because we are trying to remember the reality, truth, God, who is with us, who has been with us. So Nama chanting, that is why he gives a lot of importance for Nama chanting. And Nama chanting, according to him, has given him that result. That he is there, he has been there. He is there, he has been there. He is there, he has been there. And he is behind every thought, every word, every deed. And then the next stage, he says, slowly, these are all something which is happening inside us. When we keep on trying to erase the dominance of me and mine, which is what is called a purificatory process. So Nama enables us to purify. Purification means the me and mine factor is getting reduced. We won't say that it will go immediately, completely, but to a very great extent. Excepting for the basic things like existence, eating, going to the toilet, bathing, all these things you need, Otherwise the dominance will not be there. So then, suddenly, this contemplation, Papa also uses the word, be reflective and contemplative. The more you become reflective, the more you are nearer the truth. So then it takes us, the chanting enables us to know that he is there in everybody. In one of his beautiful quotations, he says, the sense of otherness sets limit to the illimitable. Sense of otherness sets limit to the illimitable. So otherness comes from a thought. It is the thought that divides me, separates me. When I am in deep sleep, there is no otherness. When the thought is absent, when the thought is present, immediately the division comes. So here he says, Ram Nam enables us to cross over this boundary. Even the very thinking, even the very chanting is done by him. That means at least for a twice, we all cross the boundary, again we are back, agreed. So the struggle is only to get ourselves stabilized in this. So that is why he has given a lot of importance for chanting. So the mainstay of the ashram is Ram Nam. Ram Nam chanting in different tunes. Whichever tune, he says, whichever tune is okay for you, you can accept it. But because you go along with the sound, and in one of his revelations he says, through the sound you enter into the stillness within you. So simultaneously this introvertedness was also taking place in him. Otherwise, how can he reveal all these things? He has elaborately discussed about the inward journey in so many words, not in one book. So when we compile all these things, okay. So Ram Nam, Ram Nam, Ram Nam. Yeah, the moment you enter into Anandashram compound, you will hear this Ram Nam. The Ram Nam occupies the main part of the ritual that are going on. There is no what do you call routine that is going on there. There is no ritual excepting Arati or flower offering in the morning. Even during the flower offering, if you witness, it will be a wonderful, thrilling incident every day. Chorus Ram Nam will be going on. Unknowingly, the Nama, though my sense of individuality may resist, it becomes one with the sound. And the ecstasy you feel, at least for a rise, that keeps on coming back. So, anything that is happening to an ordinary person who is burdened with commitments, responsibilities, duties, challenges, on which he has no control, naturally he will get upset. He needs some prop, some support, avalambanam, to hold on. And Papa assures Ram Nam, because you are bringing the power which is behind all these things. So suddenly we try to develop. There must be a purpose. I am unable to understand the purpose for which you are making me to go through this. Please enable me to endure. Please enable me to accept. Every time. One more important thing which we should not forget. In Papa's life, he has also taught us constant dialogue with him. So when we try to understand, we are chanting the name of one who is making me to chant, there is an implied statement that he is there and I am there. No? So then Papa wants us to, in order that we get more and more stabilized, that it is his will that prevails, he recommends strongly that we should develop a dialogue with him every day. Set apart 5 minutes at least a day, have a dialogue with him. The moment we start developing this dialogue, there is a unwritten acceptance that he is there within us, number one. And number two, he is behind every thought, word and deed. Number three, his will alone prevails. So along with Ram Nam, he was doing it. It is not me, for people like us who look at it from a distance, we may say it is only chanting. It is not merely chanting. Chanting is for remembrance. So anybody who is passing through stressful period, Papa was also passing through stressful period only. And he found solace, he found relief only by chanting. Remembering him through chanting. He did not start with chanting first. He heard the voice, trust me. And that gave him, where from it came? It came from the great void he has mentioned. And that was the voice of Ram. And to remember that you are chanting Ram. So the Ram who has been with me, who is behind my thoughts, words and deeds, when I start knowing, when I start feeling his presence, that he is there within me, slowly the onus of handling all situations slowly getting transferred to him. That is how the solace or the feeling of peace comes to us. He must be having. We have seen many people who may not tom-tom all these things, but they take everything lightly, everything positively. Even the so-called labeled adverse circumstances, it does not affect them. Oh, so it's possible. It is definitely possible because some meaning will be there. We don't know. We are not interested to probe into it. We will accept, that's all. anything that is happening. So not only for a spiritual sadhaka, but also for a person who is a grihastha, who is a brahmachari, who is a grihastha, who is a retired person, when he is passing through any mental struggle, ups and downs. Papa clearly, the word used was, Ram Nam is the ultimate panacea for all ills of the world. But the only thing is, if we chant mechanically, lip level exercise, it may not help us much. It will also help, no doubt. Initially, we all start with the mechanical chanting. Then slowly we will try, Papa will say, this is also very important. When somebody asked him, we start chanting, Papa, but mind does not get concentrated. Concentration or no concentration, chant. That means he wants us to get ourselves initiated into this. And later on he will say, mere chanting will not help. If this is told out, I will not make a beginning at all. Now how to improve, that will come to me. So he says, and another third stage is, he says, outer activity should be compatible with inner aspiration. Inner aspiration is to remember him. So whatever I do, whatever I talk, whatever I think, it should be in line with this ideal. To remember him, to remember him, to remember him. So that is how Ram Nam stays in the ashram. And Puja Mataji and during Papa's time we were told, those who were coming in the ashram, they were all given a notebook. During their time, Mataji always wanted the visitors to spend about 6 hours at least during their stay in ashram to spend on Ram Nam chanting. And then they will all write. Because writing Ram Nam and chanting Ram Nam, it has got some difference. 10 times vocal is equal to 1 time writing. That's what people say. In the sense, there is a whole-souled application on the theme while chanting and while writing. So they will all be given the books and they will all write Ram Nam. And evening, religiously it will be collected, signed by Papa. This is how it was initiated. And then Mataji also scaled the heights only through Ram Nam, with this right attitude and whatever activities that she was doing, it was in line with that. Okay. So Nama was the seed bed. So when the stage came, the people, devotees decided to celebrate her silver jubilee of sannyas. That means 1928, 1953. They wanted to bring out a souvenir, and at that time they decided, Anandashram was at that time trying to make both and very difficult, because Ashram does not ask or mobilize anything. And only we people felt that. Papa Mataji never felt that, because things are all going on. So they wanted to give a purse to Mataji. Then she said, I don't want anything, give me 25 crores of Ram Nam. Return, lighe. So that each one will start applying their mind. Under the pretext of giving these 25 targets, each one will be involved to closely associate with Ram Nam and the Nami, of course. And there is a conscious effort every day. And she knows our weakness. Unless a target is given, we will not be motivated to do that. Suppose you say, give me as much as possible, nobody would have done. But she fixed up a target 25 crores. And she saw to it that it came to 33 crores. Even today we have got Ram Nam Bank in Ashram. Now 33 has gone somewhere, more than 100 now. Then we have to move from one. So in the normal language we say extension counter has been opened in another room with so many steel cupboards, and it is preserved there. Vinobaji, when he came to Ashram, he made a reference, this is more powerful than atom bomb. Because it is the devotion with which they have written, no? And the entire thing is sealed, And some herbs are also there so that the decomposition does not take place. And it is hostile. So that is a Ram Nam Bank. So when somebody asks how is this ashram run, we will say only because of the Ram Nam Bank. So the Likhita Japa Yajna is also going on simultaneously, which is a very, very important. Even now, people make a sankalpa of themselves, and then they, as soon as the book is over, and late in 1970s or early in 80s, Puja Mataji made a sankalpa to motivate further people like us to involve in this more intently. She is coined the word 15,500 crore Nama Japa Yajna for Vishwa Shanti. And every month in the magazine we will get the figure. That means suppose you are having 2 people at home. You make a sankalpa that I will do 5 malas a day. Om Shri Ram Ram Jaya Ram. 5 malas means 500. So 500 plus 500,000. 30 days, 30,000. So you will write to Ashram. We have done 30,000 for the whole month. So Ashram will immediately take it to the account. Total on 30th. And it will be pooled to this account, 15,500. So like that now we have completed 3 rounds. That means 46,500 crores are already over. Now we are in the 4th round. Somebody, God makes somebody to ask, in spite of doing, where is Vishwa Shanti? Then we should know, Mataji wanted all of us to ask ourselves. This is how the process of purification starts. Am I doing it with less and less of me and mine, more and more of we and us? Am I becoming conscious of God's presence through other creation because of which I am existing? The very air I breathe, the very earth on which I stand, the very water I drink, the very space in which I move about, the body temperature, nothing I have done. Sun, metals, minerals, gases, vegetables, fruits, pulses. Suddenly I remember all that I enjoy in the form of creature comforts, it has come from my co-creations. Am I conscious of this? Or am I contracting to me and mine? If that is not going along with this Nama chanting, this yajna, the interrelationship between me and the rest, it becomes always separate. Mataji wanted to reduce the gap between me and others. That is how peace comes, harmony comes. The me and mine, when it gets reduced, you become one with it. Love, sacrifice, selflessness, or compassion. What does it mean? The barrier is removed suddenly. So Mataji wanted this Gita Nama Yajna for Visheshanti, it should be instrumental in purifying, in relieving them from the, as somebody has beautifully pointed out, toils of individualism. To free them from the toils of individualism. This should help. So we are now again requesting everybody, this is what Mataji meant. Not merely joining the joining should enable me to have a right relationship with the co-creations outside. So that as you asked, how does it help in our day-to-day life? Harmony at home, harmony at workplace, harmony with friends. This alone can give us. And what is needed for this? Things will come by itself. For my success. Because harmony can come only through this. By developing a right relationship with my co-creation. So this is what Mataji meant by this Jnana Yajna. Nama Yajna for Vishwa Shanti.